Hey guys, this is Paraguy88, and welcome to the Behind the LPs. On the last video of our series, I did an introduction of myself and about why I make videos and what inspired me to make videos, and also my overall goal and initial recording setup and stuff like that. So hopefully that lets you know who I am in the Let's Play community or whatever. So, now for this video in our series, I'll be discussing the very first LP I have ever done, and this game is called Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Ah yes, this brings back so many great memories. This was way before my crazy days, and where I don't even know what direction I wanted to do with this video. I do know what my goals are, and I'll discuss that in a moment. But basically, yes, I was generally happy with this game, even though it was my very first attempt at doing this, at doing LPs and videos in general. And yeah, so I'm gonna go and describe to you in great detail about stuff like the goals that I have and how I first came about this game and my experiences with it, and how I recorded my likes and dislikes, any problems I had, improvements that I wish I could put in there, and some other extra bits in there before we close off. So I hope you all enjoy this little behind the LPs things on my very first sets of videos ever. Alright, so let's begin. Okay, the first thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is how I stumbled upon this game and what my experience of this game is before I made it into an LP. Now, since I was born after the golden age of the NES and when this game came out, obviously I didn't play it when it first came out. So, yeah, so mostly my experience playing it was through emulation through the computers and buying it in the Wii, the virtual console shop for the Wii. And I thought it was alright. Like I mentioned at the end of that series, I only got up to Ball Bull, and I couldn't make it any further, and I don't know, I just didn't really care too much. But then the Punch-Out for the Wii came out, and I got really curious about it, so I got it, and boy was that game really awesome. I really loved that game, and so that made me want to try out the NES game again. And yeah, I kind of like it too. They both play extremely similarly. The gameplay is just so good and simplistic, but I'll talk more about that when I talk about what I like about this game. So, now why did I decide to make an LP of that as my first one? So, I don't really remember the reason all that well. It was all like 3 years ago, so I'm not really sure why. I think maybe it's because I wanted to start out something small, and not like a real heavy-blown RPG game yet. Or I just picked it by random. I don't really remember. Regardless, that's how it is. That's how I choose the Punch-Out, I guess. Whatever methods you could guess. Okay, well, we're done with that. Let's just move on to the next topic. Alright, so, the goals. Yes. This is the beginning of my videos on where I wanted to set goals, not only in the way that I want to help people out in this game, but also about the entertainment portion, about like me helping out somebody. So as for the entertainment portion of it first. Now I've heard about this little kid named Little Mac, and I noticed that he wanted to be the best boxer ever, so we're gonna go up and set up and then Mike Tyson came up on the screen and wants to challenge us and to complete his challenge and beat him. And that was the goal of that. We're gonna try to beat everybody in the WVBA and get up to Mike Tyson, knock him around a bit, and then Mike will be the greatest boxer in the world. And I was going to be there to help him at every step of the way and to help find the best way to defeat every boxer. And that also leads over to the educational part of it too. Now, for most of these games, I did use a guide to help be more specific about how do you defeat a certain boxer or where you get stars from. I hope I'm not going to get blasted by that, because I'm not an extreme genius and everything, so I hope you guys don't mind if I use guides for some of these things. But anyway, so yeah, in my videos, the educational portion of it, I wanted to show you how to get stars. Now, that goal got very hard to accomplish when we get past like Ball Bull and we got into the world circuit. And because the boxes there are very, very fast, and it's more emphasized on not getting hit and that takes more priority in fighting stars. And even if you do happen to get stars somehow, sometimes the star punches won't affect them as much, and well, that's why I mostly didn't care about showing you where all the places to get stars from after that. But I did accidentally get to some hits, and we lead to star punches, so hopefully we go along with that. So hopefully I solved Hopefully we went through the goal of showing you where everything is and how to beat the boxers easily. Mike Tyson obviously is a much difficult opponent, but I also talked about how you can beat him and what his attack pattern is and such like that. So you can do decent at him. Now, like I said, it's Mike Tyson. Well, Mike Tyson is a beast all of its own, and it's not very easy to educate people on how to beat him, and more like how you can what his attack patterns are. That's probably a lot more the approach that I took on that one. Other than that, I pretty much explained as much as best as my abilities about what each person does. Now, sometimes I forget, like I forgot some of the Sandman's attacks that I forgot to mention. Like he can counter you if you punch him too early. I meant to mention that, but I forgot. I think that's probably the only thing. If there are other things, then whatever. It's 3 years ago, so who cares about that, right? Nobody's gonna remember that. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the goals, and now I'll talk about the recording setup. Alright, in regards to that, the recording setup. Well, like I mentioned in my first video, the intro one, where that's pretty much the initial setup there. I basically use an emulator. In this case, in this game, I use an NES emulator. I don't remember which one, so I don't know. I can't really help you recommend which best NES to use, emulator to use, because I don't remember which one I use. But it was alright. I kind of like that one. And then, of course, I used Cam Studio. It was okay, yeah, back then it was very cooperative because thankfully the videos were very short. They only lasted less than 10 minutes, so I didn't have issues there. Oh boy, I can't wait to talk to you about that in the next video, about the Cam Studio issue. But in this case it was alright, and then I used Movie Maker to edit it, just like I mentioned in the last video. It was alright too, for something simple, what I wanted to do. And then I have I used the microphone headset thing, and yeah, pretty much it was alright. Nice, easy setup, even for a beginner like myself back then. Also very cheap as well. All the stuff is for free. And yeah, for a small game like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, where I save an episode for each match, which doesn't last too long. It was pretty much the ideal setup for that case, so I had no real issues at all with that. So yeah, the recording setup and recording in general was actually went pretty well. And I kind of like that, but then of course whenever I did my next game, oh boy, yeah, the problems of recording and such, it really rears its head. But yeah, that's enough of that. That's kind of a shortish topic. So that's the basic setup that I use, of course. So, and remember, people who want to make their LPs, if you want to do a quick, simple game like an NES game like Punch-Out here, then this setup, what I just told you about, is very good for this. It's also very cheap. But if you want to do, better, longer, better games, then don't follow this setup. And I'm going to warn you next video. Trust me on that. Anyway, that's it for the recording setup. Let's move on to the next topic. Ah yes, now it's good time for one of my most favorite sections here, about everything I like about the game in regards to the game itself and any of the recording stuff or any cool things that I mentioned. So let's see. Yes, it's basically a very simplistic action, probably close to puzzle-ish in a way. What I mean by that is, well, yes, it's more action where you rely on your reflexes to win your match. Of course, that's the main thing. But I mentioned it was puzzles is because you can't just, push the A button or B or whatever you use to punch. Probably the same thing, I don't remember. To just beat your opponent down and you just blow through everything. That'd be way too easy. In this game, you have to, exploit some people's weaknesses in order to even hit them with a punch. A good example of this is the King Hippo fight, where he'll block every punch you make. But the only way in order to be able to hit him is that you have to wait till his mouth is open. You punch him in the face, and then his shorts will fall down, which will expose his stomach, which you hit, and that's the only place where you can hit him in. So yeah, it takes a lot of thinking, and I know it could probably be very confusing at times, but the Doc Lewis in between your fights does give you some hints as well. And that's what I really admire about this game, so it does require a bit of strategy, surprisingly. And then the other game, graphically, I liked all the characters. They all look very big, unique. Okay, of course, some people who are aware of it is that they do reuse some of the bodies of the characters. Like Piston Honda's body is pretty much almost the same thing as Mike Tyson's body, only that they changed up the face and whatnot. But that doesn't really matter to me. I don't consider that too much of a recolorization or whatever. I really don't mind about that. That doesn't bother me because they each have their own different ways of fighting, pretty much. And I really do like that. The music is also good, and the system and the controls are also simplistic. I mean, I just can't get enough about this game. Yes, this game is like, over 20-some years old, but this game is still very solid, and I can imagine people still be able to play it pretty much forever. I mean, this game is just so great. As for like recording stuff, it was alright. This is also the first game where I applied the voices in the characters' dialogue, and I don't interact with them as much, except or get off script until I did stuff like Sandman and the Super Macho Man. Yeah, I know I did some very terrible accents. I'm glad nobody called me out on that, very surprisingly. But I wanted to get my hands on free-forming talking with Mr. Sandman. I just felt like as you were getting close to the end, then that it would be appropriate to do something slightly special in that case. Yes, and on that little point, no, never mind. That's it. We're done with that. That's pretty much all the stuff I liked about the game. But unfortunately, even though this is a really great game, I do feel like I need to talk about some stuff that I don't like about it. And here's some of them. Well, actually, there's not really much of the dislike section because, like I said, this game is really, really great. But there is some flaws. Mostly, I like to talk to you about the Mike Tyson fight itself. The reason why it's so infamous for being extremely maddeningly difficult is because in the first 15 seconds of the fight, Mike Tyson does these very powerful uppercuts that if they connect, then you instantly get knocked down. And of course, with 3 knockdowns, it's TKO and you lose instantly. So pretty much, unless you're very, very skilled, then you most likely will probably not survive because you also have to do something called the double. I don't know the exact technique for it, but it's basically where you tap the control pad back so fast that when you dodge, you go back to your normal position once he punches, then you punch him in the face as soon as you come back. That also takes some very good skill there. So that's why it's very difficult. And why I don't like that is because I think it's slightly unfair. Now, this is probably not the case about what makes the game bad because, I'm sure there's people who are really skilled at this game that would not consider that a bad point. But it kind of takes away a little bit from the fight that if you get knocked down, that you could just instantly lose in 15 seconds. Even if you really were good, you have to be extremely focused the entire time in order to survive in that fight. But of course, after that, after you get past the 15 minutes of trying to avoid being instantly knocked down, it's not really that bad after all. It does get tricky at times, but at least they don't instantly knock you down. They just hurt you like crap. So just make sure you don't get hit. And of course, it won't get that bad anymore. So that's basically what I don't like about that. Then of course I did detect a bit of laziness in the development of this game. Now, it's not because of the unique body thing like I mentioned. That doesn't bother me. What does slightly bother me is that in the World Circuit, you go up against the 3 people that you've already beaten before. Granted, it's not as bad because they actually do have new techniques and they are actually actually a lot more difficult. But I kind of wish that they taken an opportunity to probably think up of something a little bit more original. Now, I know it's probably because of NES limitations, probably. I don't really know the exact reason why they reused the same 3 people. But I kinda, wish that they could, at least make up their face to be different.